It's been some time since I've been able to make a recording. In that time, see here what's going on. McRaven used my mother to attack me, which was good because now I know situations that happened about when I got out of the military. It also confirms a theory I had where what McRaven and they do is they look for other IEAPs and use them to infiltrate different systems. That's from a regular logical or objective, upper and lower bound objective reality. From a more metaphysical perspective, Cravens used different metaphysical theories to basically control meme entities. That, that's and from and it's these meme entities basically. If you want to look at a religious context, he sold his soul to the devil, or so to speak. Um, and as a psychopath, pretty much stuck as a toddler or beyond before a toddler, so like a barrier in a newborn area, and never reintegrated the self. And we look at different religious texts, especially the New Testament, when the seven demons are gone, when the demon when he integrates and then gets rid of the demons, seven new demons show up. That's your religious zealot. And if you look at the seven demons are the seven chakras, so to speak. So it's seven energetic oppositions, stealing once again the human vessel for their own purposes. That's just one wackadoo, crazy, far out there theory. So make that caveat. So, but for the objective-minded persons, um, on upper and lower bounded objective reality, because that's more metaphysics theories of the higher to lower states and how it's been used or abused to affect what's going on in the world and why the Constitution is so important because it binds the behavior as unacceptable. The behavior of the IEAP is unacceptable because it's tyrannical. It does not view each individual person as a spark, but tries to turn everyone into a singular meme entity for its singular control. This is how what's going on in China. Anyone who's Chinese is considered, doesn't matter where you're living, you're considered Chinese because you don't have an individuality. See that with what Russia as a command economy. Even though people know that they have individuality, they use force, coercive force, physical force to remove that individuality as a being. When we see that those meme entities are very highly feminine in nature, by any means they try to draw to them and then destroy, consume what they draw in. As stated, this is why what happened with you look at the Sodom and the Gomorrites, mostly the Sodomites, what happened to them, a normal person was sent to God's angels, and the Sodomites wanted to just consume them. And then Lot's wife looked back in longing became angry about the situation, turned into a pillar of salt because she liked the freedom to be an animal, to be a beast. Sodom and the Gomorrahites were giving them. Now, this is not saying that all Sodom and Gomorrahites are this, and I'm not saying it, please, because there are people who are feminine souls and masculine bodies, masculine souls and feminine bodies. They do not, they are not split. That's a normal person, just in different soul, different bodies, or their feminine's energy, whatever. That's fine. Human nature. That's still humanish. Human, I should say humanish. Still human. The ones you have to look out for are the transvestites, who are, or the ones, and you know that, as they say, by their fruits, the ones who are actually not, whose soul was, whose vessel was taken over by a meme entity, and then they will behave in the behavior where it's consuming others path, and that is a universal behavior that is not. That is non-positive to the rest of humanity. So therefore, they have to regulate their behavior or have that behavior regulated for them. Um, you might see that with what happened in India with those 7 dudes out of their own lust and greed and self-hatred. What they did to that man and woman who were actually bringing positivity to their region, which is what they probably were trying to consume with energy or emotive energy perspective. Those 7 individuals who did that to those tourists were consuming the positive energy that was being brought for themselves, being selfish. I'd say they were meme controlled. So moving on from that, right now, just as a while ago, King Charles is trying to cover his ass. Well, that's most definitely between him and Noah. They are going to squeeze even more so. Um, Prince William and Princess Kate are feeling the situation, and I feel sorry for Prince William. It's, for my even I have empathy. I should say feel sorry for him. Not sorry for him, but have empathy for what he's going through, especially with the dissonance that has to come about. Uh, Especially as a man, we always want to look up to our fathers, and we want to blame Camilla, which he was as much as part of it because not he, but not what's one, but Prince Charles or King Charles wasn't part of that situation because he kept with it. Do not know if he's just as, or if he's been so trauma bonded it doesn't matter. Either way, it's been so long. He's either in control of the whole situation, but it doesn't seem as such. Sucks to have your life being played out in public's eye, that's for sure. Um, Now, MI6 and MI5, the fourth man, will have contacted you. Do not bring that information back to the CIA as of yet. Determine their networks. How do they connect back to Eric Prince? How did this person connect back to McRaven and the active SEAL admirals? Because as the Seven Pillars mandate states, these individuals, almost all of the SEAL admirals, are have been corrupted. They are not loyal to the Constitution. They're loyal to creating World War III. And the irony is, even though they say these people talk about Christianity, their behavior is counter to everything as far as the teachings of Christ, because they look only at the dark side of everything. And the revelations that these people love, it's really the revelation to self. What happens when the body, when the mind and body are connected, and you have that spiritual quote awakening. But they want to make sure, they want to see what is above as is below. Create that mess. But we shall see. Also, MI6 and MI5 would be best served to gather some of the other NATO intelligence agencies, especially the French and the Poles, because they're going to take the brunt of anything that happens with westward expansion. Um, what I mean by that is because just like as the East India Company was basically its own semi-autonomous corporate country, so too is the networks of private military contractors McRaven and white nationals set up to overturn countries, and that way they would have all the access to the American technology and strategies and tactics, and then be able to plus all the backing, because that's why they use the Bancroft group, set them up. They're the bankers, and then you have a bunch of other myriad of smaller ones they use in trading, basically setting up a completely shadow uh, military complex. And the thing is, the McRaven and the SEAL, McRaven was using the SEALs as to seed throughout the United States operatives that they can turn on loyal to them. That's why there were not any black or any other type of officers who made it pretty much above commander for the last 30 years in the SEALs. And there's been very few who made Master Chief. You know, one Master Chief, I was at but, they just basically turned into their white nationalist shock troops, even if people didn't know. And you're to find and hunt down McRaven right now. Just keep a lot of focus on him until I complete my task. But once my task is complete, you are to hunt him down. Also, keep people away. Do not allow anytime I leave my my area anyone to come into it. When I'm inside of it, from them waking me up and the whole list screwing up my rhythms. The reason is not so much that I couldn't fight through it. It's if I do fight through it without the interference, then they believe will say that they have the ownership over anything I do. Even at this moment, they've probably told Prince William Just let him look like he's thinking he's in control, and then we'll just take it over for what we want it. No, that's not what's going to happen. That's not what is happening. The mandate states I will have full authority, and I do have full authority. So I had warned Prince William. He goes through this. He has to fully commit because there's no I'm coming. No, he regains his authority either by his father being by his father, King Charles, completing uh, by upholding the contract, sovereign Her Majesty's contract, and the appointment to Duke of Edinburgh. If his father doesn't do so, then Prince William has to do so. Until then, I have full authority. I mean, once I complete the situation. And so, by keeping him, he has. This is the game. Personally, I'd much rather be back to my just keep trying to go. I would like my quiet life back, but I know it's not going to happen. And as stated to Prince William, once you enter the gates, you cannot return. And such is my fate as well. Now, the situation that they're stating about why I shouldn't go out and get a hold and work to get voting rights completed is it'll start a civil war if Congress upholds the 14th Amendment. It's there's Trump's going to start a civil war anyways. Doesn't matter. Um, he loses through even. You're going to say, well, we gerrymandered so badly, it was rigged. We should have lost. Uh, might as well rip the band-aid off. Have everyone in the country say, hey, this is what we really want. And go after the oligarchs because Trump is lying to these people. He took Bernie Sanders, who was truly who is truly working for the people, took his what he says, and then flips it around. And he'll speak a moment of truth, and then in action, it will be just a grift. As of today, which is March 18th, over the weekend, there was reporting about Trump's talking about a bloodbath and this. And then taken out of context in one area, but on one reporting. But when you looked at, because the thing is, he said that about China. I mean, actually, what he said about China creating the the factories down in Mexico is true. What we've seen, what they've done in Africa is they'll set up the infrastructure, or they'll set up these factories, and they'll have all Chinese workers come in because they got too many men, and they need to keep them busy. They either can do what Putin is doing, emptying out his prisons and slaughtering the prisoners. So that way he doesn't have to worry about all those prisoners. Scary thing is once those prisoners come back, they'll have a skill set of more death. But that's a later on headache he'll have to deal with. But the we'll see if they actually hire Mexican workers, or they'll mostly, if they do hire Mexican workers, they'll never be allowed to ever move up too far into the ranks of the company. China's believes if you're either on Chinese or ain't shit, they stick to it. And this is where one of the places where the white Christian nationalists are getting their cues from. And then the other thing I noticed, King Charles was talking about diversity is our strength. Now you use it not as a strength, but as a way of how I could use it to how he could use it to manipulate and keep people in their place. That's why he views diversity is what he says diversity is our strength. But he means he can have a bunch of different people to play off of each other in diverse ways. He does not believe in his strength. He believes that it's just like, haha. It's like, just as the same thing as like as how he's using Sunak. Um, the only if a person does want to move up, they have to be a Christian. That's about it. That's what's going to have to be. We need a Christian king if there's going to be a Christian kingdom. The Danes can do that, but they don't have the reach, as much of a reach as the Brits and the United Kingdom. Yeah. Now McRaven is using the whole idea of civil war to try to limit my speech. He has no right to limit my speech. I need to keep these people off of me. It's going to take about 2, 3 weeks to finally nail down and hit my targets just because of the way the system is set up. Um, but it's more important to get voting rights. And once I have this done, then I can tell you, and the capital is in my hands, I can then start killing out and we'll figure out where, because I can't say what I'm going to do before I do it, because nefarious people, actors will then try to take it over for themselves. Because the whole goal, McRaven's going to create the mess, which he's created, then try to be the hero on that mess he's created. But then, in that quote, being the hero, he will then use it to complete the task of undermining the Constitution, but do it as a boiled frog, a lot subtler, still working with like the 2025 commission. Same feces, different pile. I have a date, but I cannot until I can get through this. This McRaven slowed down so much time. You, if the man has got, I gotta give it to him. He has bullshit down to fucking. I asked these two, this, yeah, where I'm at right now. Yeah, the manager Barbara spray, sprayed shit all over my freaking. So the stink is so bad under the pillows. I'm working with them, and then this other woman named Wendy, and another straight down the hall, whose husband's a straight bigot, complete bigot, and it's interesting. So I asked these two hold women and go, so why would you? Just explain to me why would you want to overthrow your constitution? And Barbara didn't even say I wouldn't. She said, well, it's different things, blah blah blah, showing they really don't understand how that constitution works. Protect them and what's going to be put in place is not going to be better. It's going to be actually worse. South sucked for white Americans. But they figure, well, it sucked worse for them. But if he would do what he says he does, gets rid of all the blacks, deports them back to Africa, deports all the Mexicans, turns everything to a concentration camp. What Stephen Miller truly wants to do, he's just absolutely a born individual. If there's, by the pathology, if there's nobody kicked down to, who are they going to kick down to? So that in itself, all those deportations and all that hatred that's going to come about, that will actually cause a civil war. So either Trump causes it on Jan 20th, or if he gets in, his behaviors will cause it later on, and a year later, that will be even worse. So we might as well get voting rights taken care of, because we're not going to stop the people from voting for him, but we're going to make sure it's a fair fight, because he can never win on a fair fight. Just like McRaven can't win on a fair fight. Why did McRaven spend 20 years undercutting me? 20 plus years? Because I was competent, because I am competent. I uniquely have extremely amazing gifts. Think if they had trained me, what I would have done. I would have become an admiral. There's no ifs, ands, or buts to it. Well, I would say I would have become an admiral, but there's a higher probability. You know, you just having to overcome, become better, be a better human being, different things like that. But it's pure talent, pure ability. It's the only reason that they would made McRaven an admiral is because they knew he was a psychopath. The religious bigots knew that they could use it. Now, with the Russian elections, Putin is free to now start working on disinformation. Disinformation campaigns are going to go through the roof. It's going to get a lot worse, far worse. Uh, so is Xi. They probably start paying attention to what stockpiling they've learned just as Xi gets ready for Taiwan, and not just Taiwan. Start paying attention to what they're doing within the Philippines, in the Nine Dash Line, as they try to squeeze out, especially with all the oil and gas in the South China Sea, as they try to squeeze out their neighbors. That might set up with something far worse. Um, and Ryan Macbeth is correct. TikTok is a cyber weapon. So are the cars that they want to import into the United States. The whole thing is all these electric cars, Elon Musk and his arrogance, they'll just factory in China, and they're like, "Good job, Elon, kid, yeah, buddy," because they stole all this technology right from underneath his nose, and then started squeezing them out. And he doesn't even realize it. You're going to create these cars, these self-driving cars, and that means they have to have machine learning, AI, and all that data flows right back to the Chinese government, so they'll know our streets, our movements. Uh, they have more products that they can share, like TikTok, and not just the manipulation of the populace, but the data. They need the data to do the manipulation. And so it is a cyber weapon. But the thing about selling TikTok's forcing ByteDance to sell TikTok, it's Chinese parts or it's data part to the open market in America that has to be set out towards open market, and then watch out for any. Um, so it shouldn't go to an individual. That's what I'm saying. It should be just okay. On this date, we're selling these. We're taking this out from them. They're divesting, but it's not going to like a Steve Mnuchin who's just as bad or if not worse than Trump. It just isn't an open air investment. Open. Here it is. On this day, everyone has a shot to grab the new ownership setup, and as well as also Chinese companies cannot own the data. So they these cars, that data has to be needs to be open ownership in the West with clarity, not in China. Can't have that data is the most important thing. We cannot allow them to have that. As soon as quantum computing hits, that is the most dangerous thing because they'll take all that data, and whoever gets quantum supremacy first, it's yeah. We already saw what happens when we saw that woman. There was a woman. I was watching this video. Woman came up was looking like she had really good for Sandbox News reported, and Chinese American, well, she was Chinese, emigrated to the United States, worked on like, repulsor technology, and they took her out. So it hit her, so that way she had brain damage. That means that she was close to something, something amazing, that she didn't want to give it to the Chinese government. So they took her out. This is the Chinese. This is what they do. You can say all governments do, but to the degree that it's a completely different. When you are, it's just like the Muslim Ummah. When you're not considered an individual, it doesn't matter. And then we're also seeing once again with Ilhan Omar. I have to admit, it's talking about Islamophobia. It's not about Islamophobia. The religion itself, when it was first in Medina, first Mecca, which is what reported as being actually Petra, which actually makes more sense than it being a place in Saudi Arabia where it's at now. But the um, they're in their books they're taught, if your numbers are lower, then you are being persecuted. The persecution is the same thing. Basically, Islam, Medina, Medina and second Mecca Islam is basically cluster B. Cluster B was the religion. So they're going to be the victim, and then once their numbers are up, then they say, well, it's a religious liberty, kind of like what the Christians are doing. The zealots, Christian zealots are doing the same thing as how they took over the Roman Empire. Then they don't. Then they push everybody else out. They don't have. It's secularism is the safest way, so that way religion does not destroy humanity. And what's going on within Israel is Netanyahu. What you do, it's how you do it, and what he truly is trying to do is genocide. I totally understand him too. As sad as I have to say that, it's like, gosh, because the Muslims want to do just a genocide to the Jews, and the whole two-state solution. I think that's personally kind of wackadoo, but because well, the Arabs attack the Jews, and then we're supposed to give up the land because because they lost, and then you're supposed to. No, that doesn't make any sense. But so I see the Jewish, especially in the West Bank, I definitely see the Jewish reasoning. So whether you come into Israel, become Israeli, and get over it, and follow Israeli laws, secular laws, because you also have the situation where you have the religious Jews who don't do anything except sit around and force the secular Jews to work their asses off and pay for them to sit around and have a bunch of kids and then screw shit up and be angry because this is the same thing that happened when Jesus was talking about. If you guys keep this dumb shit up, keep attacking the Romans, we're going to lose everything. But we're special, so we can do this, and then having the temple razed to the ground. Um, so you got to be part of this world as well. Um, and then they're all like, "Well, I can't be around women, dude. You have to learn how to deal with being around women, and then going back. Take a shower, go do some productive work, And then you just can't be sitting there. If you're gonna be living in your, it's like if you want to be completely like that, then you need to go live in a convent or something, not a convent, but a monastery. There's nothing wrong with that. Even in your monastery, you might have Jewish monasteries, you might have family, but just you sit there and be living off the state. Just yeah, that's jacked up. But they needed that to get the state off the ground, and now it's just not. It's not cool at all. But that's just my personal opinion. And I guarantee you, every single Tyson is losing their mind because they're creating a mess right now for everybody else to pick up the pieces. It's just like the Palestinian authority, Palestinians, Hamas, their so-called leaders are living the life of luxury in Qatar, while their people are just starving, and they're starving their people to death. All of that money that they were getting, they could have improved the lives as best they could. Instead, they're all about, well, the way we improve their lives, we get rid of Israel. That's not what's going to happen. Anyhow, we'll see what happens. The chaos is continuing. Then you have what's going on in Sudan, even though it's been quiet. Or the news, Sudan is falling apart. And then you have the Houthis and Iran's making its moves as its proxies. Prices are going to go up, which is what they're trying to do. The Houthis are way too well funded, and Hezbollah is going to try to do a triple spot. Right now, they're being quiet, wondering if they're waiting for if everything seems to be hinging upon this election. So as election time gets closer, we can start seeing a lot of the movements start to take place. As far as Ukraine is concerned, we all say Putin's on a war footing. He's putting out a bajillion shells. He's not preparing just to wear out Ukraine. Europe fell for the bluff of him using nuclear weapons when he bought himself the time he needed. Now, where before it was a bluff, now he's forced into a corner where he will have to use nuclear weapons if he springs them up again. So we must be prepared for that fact. The world's teetering. Hopefully, we can bring it back into balance with as few lost lives as possible. May the flag forever wave over democracy. May the people still have power. May God bless us all.